Good evening, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar addresses East Asia Summit in Kuala Lumpur, says multipolarity is not just here to stay, but to grow. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi speaks with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, says China hopes United States can meet it halfway to prepare for high-level interactions. US President Donald Trump meets Japan's Emperor Naruhito at Imperial Palace in Tokyo to hold bilateral talks with newly elected Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. Nikkei tops 50,000 mark over positive investor sentiment. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar delivered a national statement at the 20th East Asia Summit in Kuala Lumpur today. During his address, he conveyed warmest greetings of Prime Minister Modi to East Asia Summit on its 20th anniversary, welcoming Timor-Leste to the forum. He mentioned that there are growing concerns about reliability of supply chains and access to markets. Hence, multipolarity is not just here to stay, but to grow, which require a serious global conversations. Minister Jaishankar said India welcomes the Gaza peace plan and seeks an early end to the conflict in Ukraine. Minister highlighted that terrorism continues to pose corrosive threat and urged member nations to display zero tolerance, emphasizing that there is no room for ambivalence. He also underlined that India's right of defense against terrorism can never be compromised. External Affairs Minister reiterated India's commitment of an absolute support in activities of East Asia Summit and its future directions. He also said India remains strongly committed to further strengthen maritime cooperation in line with ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific and shared commitment to the 1982 United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. He highlighted that 2026 will be observed as ASEAN-India Year of Maritime Cooperation. He proposed an East Asia Summit Maritime Heritage Festival to be held in the ancient port of Lothal in Gujarat and expressed India's intent to host the 7th East Asia Summit Conference on Maritime Security Cooperation. He further said India was the first responder during the March earthquake in Myanmar, adding that India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway continues to progress. And on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar held wide-ranging discussions with Japanese Foreign Minister Motegi Toshimitsu. The leaders agreed to work closely to implement the joint vision for the next decade of cooperation. They also exchanged perspectives on global situation and Indo-Pacific cooperation. The conversation reflected strength and warmth of India-Japan special strategic and global partnership. And Minister Jaishankar, in a social media post, shared a photo of him meeting Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit. In other news, Cameroon's President Paul Biya has won the country's presidential election with over 53% of the vote, according to the official results announced on Monday by the Constitutional Council. Protests have flared in several cities after partial results reported by local media showed Biya was on course to win. The government has rejected opposition accusations of irregularities and urged people to wait for the result. Cameroon's Interior Minister Paul Atanga Niji said on Saturday that arrests had been made in connection with what he described as insurrectional movement, though he did not say who had been detained or how many. Biya is the world's oldest serving ruler and has been in power in Cameroon since 1982. Another 7-year term could keep him in power until he's nearly 100. US President Donald Trump received a royal welcome by Japan's Emperor Naruhito on Monday as he arrived at the Imperial Palace in the second leg of his Asia tour. He will also meet Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. the country's first female prime minister, tomorrow. The meeting is considered a major diplomatic test for Takaichi, who assumed office on October 21st. The two leaders are expected to focus on strengthening Japan-US alliance and addressing key security concerns. The United States and China have agreed on a range of contentious points as part of a trade deal ahead of key meeting between leaders Trump and Jinping later this week. The US and Chinese officials say that in addition to the rare earths, they discussed trade expansion, US fentanyl crisis, US port entrance fees, and the transfer of TikTok to the American ownership control.
Top Chinese and US officials on Sunday hashed out the framework of a trade deal for US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping to decide on later this week that would pause steeper American tariffs and Chinese rare earth export controls. After 2 days of talks in Malaysia wrapped up on Sunday, a Chinese official said the two sides reached a preliminary consensus on topics including export controls, fentanyl, and shipping levies.
The economic and trade teams from both China and the United States met in Kuala Lumpur, with both sides paying close attention to economy and trade on the agenda and making progress with in-depth and frank discussions and exchanges. There were numerous items on the agenda, including export controls on both sides, the issue of reciprocal tariffs going a step further for an extended period of time, the issue of fentanyl tariffs, and cooperation on banning the production of fentanyl.
US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Trump's threat of 100% tariffs on Chinese goods is effectively off the table. The US expects China to delay implementation of its rare earth minerals and magnets licensing regime by a year while the policy is reconsidered.
So this was the fifth meeting that I've had with my Chinese counterpart, the Vice Premier, Hu Lifeng, and we covered a wide range of issues, and I think we've reached a substantial framework for the two leaders who will meet in Korea next Thursday. So, on the table, the president had given me maximum leverage when he threatened 100% tariffs if the Chinese imposed their rare earth global export controls. So I think we have averted that, so that the tariffs will be averted. And we have a regular quarterly meeting with the Chinese.
Trump himself predicted a good deal with China as he spoke with reporters on the sidelines of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Kuala Lumpur, saying he expected additional leader-level follow-up meetings in China and the US.
I think a complete deal. I want our farmers to be taken care of, and he wants things also. We're going to be talking about fentanyl, of course. Fentanyl is killing a lot of people. It comes from China, and we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about a lot of things. I think we have a really good chance of making a very comprehensive deal.
Trump and Xi are due to meet on Thursday on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea. China has yet to confirm that the two leaders will meet. Bureau Report, DD India.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Monday. Beijing hopes Washington can meet it halfway to prepare for high-level interactions between the two countries. Speaking on Xi-Trump's relationship, Wang added that Chinese President Xi Jinping's and US President Donald Trump's long-standing exchanges and respect for each other is the most valuable strategic asset in China-US relations. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and US President Trump held positive meeting on Sunday. Both sides said their respective teams will start immediately to discuss tariffs and other matters. Trump and Lula spoke on the sidelines of ASEAN summit in Kuala Lumpur in a meeting to overcome tensions between Brazil and the United States after Trump increased tariffs on US imports of most Brazilian goods to 50% from 10% in August.
We'll see what happens. I don't know if anything's going to happen, but we'll see. They'd like to do a deal. We'll see. Right now they're paying, I guess, 50% tariff. But we had a great meeting. It's happy birthday. I want to wish the president happy birthday. Okay? It's his birthday today. Did you know that?
No.
He's a very vigorous guy, actually, and I was very impressed. But today's his birthday. So happy birthday. All right? Would you let him know, please?
Russia's defense ministry said on Monday it had downed 193 Ukrainian drones overnight, with local authorities reporting one person killed and 5 others injured in the attack. Russian forces in total downed 47 drones in Bryansk, which borders Ukraine, as well as 40 in the Moscow region, with most of those headed towards the capital, according to the defense ministry. Russian aviation watchdog said that 2 of Moscow's 4 airports, the Domodedovo airport and the smaller Zhukovsky airport, were closed for safety reasons. Meanwhile, US President Trump on Monday criticized Russian President Putin's announcement of a nuclear-powered cruise missile test, calling it not appropriate. Earlier on Sunday, Russia successfully tested its nuclear-powered Verovesnik cruise missile, a nuclear-capable weapon Moscow says can evade any defense system and will move towards deploying the weapon. Russia's top general, Valery Gerasimov, chief of the General Staff of Russia's armed forces, told Putin that the missile traveled some 14,000 kilometers and was in the air for about 15 hours when it was tested on October 21st. Let's now take a look at some other news. Australia's Competition and Consumer Commission accused Microsoft on Monday of misleading people into paying for its AI assistant Copilot for auto-renewal to Microsoft 365 plans, which include a suite of online office services. Microsoft could face penalties of over $30 million for each breach. Known for its short live immersive shows, the spooky London dungeon has become spookier this Halloween as Count Dracula awaits to welcome visitors at this riverside tourist attraction. The dungeon is also running a special Dracula show on the occasion, which will run till November 3rd. In an attempt to revive trees lost to forest fires, Algeria launched a nationwide campaign with an aim to plant around 1 million trees. Led by Algeria's Ministry of Agriculture and Directorate of General of Forests, the initiative covers 685 municipalities across all 58 provinces. Championing the cause of mental health awareness, colourful kites covered the vivid blue skies of South Africa's Cape Town. Organised by Cape Mental Health, the annual event uses kite flying to spotlight the challenges and courage of those living with mental health conditions. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Election Commission of India announces Pan-India Special Intensive Revision (SIR). India's Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan calls on President of Seychelles Dr. Patrick Hermione.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. India's Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan called on President of Seychelles, Dr. Patrick Hermione, today on the second day of his visit to the East African country. Vice President conveyed his wishes to Hermione for a fruitful and successful tenure. The two leaders discussed ways to strengthen India-Seychelles bilateral partnership and reaffirm shared vision for peace, stability and prosperity in the Indian Ocean region and the Global South. Vice President Radhakrishnan also met Vice President-elect of Seychelles, Sebastian Pillay. Both leaders discussed the multifaceted India-Seychelles relationship rooted in shared heritage, culture and people-to-people ties. Vice President also conveyed his best wishes for successful tenure. India and Seychelles share strong bilateral ties. Travel and tourism play an important role in strengthening the relations through cultural exchange. Sharon Francis, Principal Secretary Tourism, Seychelles, spoke more on the importance of tourism as a bonding force between both the nations in a special conversation with DD India correspondent Jayanti Jha. Here's more.
The India-Seychelles partnership is built on several pillars. One of those pillars is tourism. To talk about this relationship in greater detail, we have with us Ms. Sharon Francis, who's currently serving as Principal Secretary for Tourism in Seychelles. Ma'am, do you see that travel is a very easy way to explore new cultures, meet different people, open up your mind a little bit?
Oh, definitely. Travel is a great way for people to just, like you say, discover new cultures and learn about the geography of the world. And of course, discover beautiful islands like ours, like the Seychelles.
Definitely.
Yes.
And there's a massive influx of tourists in Seychelles, including Indian tourists. How do you see that as a way to bridge ties with India to bring the two countries closer?
India has always been an important market for us. And now with a new airline that has connected the two nations closer together, Indigo, we saw a huge influx in 2025. Actually, India now is almost there in our top 10 markets for Seychelles, which is a very important development. Important because it won't just be bringing visitors to the destination as much as for us as Tourism Seychelles, this is what we'd like to see. But it will bring these two nations much closer to each other because other than visitors, I'm pretty sure this flight will also serve for Seychelles to discover incredible India, the land which has so much flavors, but also to facilitate travel between a lot of the
trade
workers,
also,
trade, as well as the diaspora as well living in Seychelles.
There's a significant Indian diaspora in Seychelles. How do you see that as a bridge for cultural connection between the two nations?
It's an amazing link, a very important link actually. And as part of our tourism promotion, we always have to remain mindful. These people, the Indians who've settled in Seychelles, now have families, have businesses in Seychelles, they can play a great role in making Seychelles visible in India because they would always recommend their friends and families to come visit. And the important link they also have with Seychelles is that probably you've realized visiting here that we have quite a good number of very good authentic Indian restaurants, and these has been introduced by the Indian diaspora who lives in Seychelles. So to just make sure that our visitors, when they visit the Seychelles, they also can enjoy a little bit of their own food, their own flavor, their own culture when they are here. Although Seychelles being historically linked with India, a lot of our food, especially now we're in the Creole Festival, you can get to discover this gastronomy. And a lot of our food, it's very linked to Indian food. Like for example, staple like lentils, fish, chicken curry. It's part of our cuisine. And we actually get it from our Indian descendants, our Indian link.
Food is such a nice connection to have between two countries. Ma'am, India and Seychelles are collaborating across sectors, whether it's energy, defense, via the diaspora. How do you see tourism emerge as a future sector of collaboration?
I believe with air connectivity, very good air connectivity, the possibility in terms of bringing these two nations closer are endless. Tourism is definitely one of the very fast end product of having good air connectivity, and we would definitely love to see our future visitors from India, or Indian visitors, to consider Seychelles, be it for a beach holiday, but also you're visiting Seychelles right bang in the Creole Festival. It shows that we are more than just the Sensi and Sen. We have a
so
very
much
rich,
to offer,
colorful history, and we have interesting gastronomy, which is very close and very linked to India as well. All the reasons why our visitors should consider Seychelles, and I think I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic about the development of the Indian market for Seychelles.
Just leave the viewers with a few recommendations of what they should do in Seychelles.
I always tell our visitors when they visit Seychelles to always make time for island hopping.
Okay.
Don't just be happy with visiting Mahe, because Mahe is just one island, and there's a reason why we call ourselves the Seychelles Islands.
Yes.
No two islands are different, so it's important to make time to hop on at least on Prala and Ladik, but if you have time, add other islands to itinerary. Make time to discover the gastronomy, because that is where it will touch their heart, because like I said, there's a lot of similarities to a lot of the dishes from India. Make time to visit Victoria, the world's smallest capital. It's full of stories, and it tells a nice story about how Seychelles originated as a nation. And if they enjoy the nature, also make time to discover the islands, the walks and trails, the snorkeling, the diving, swimming. If you don't like diving, but you can just enjoy our beautiful sea, our beautiful beaches. And there's a lot to discover, there's a lot to experience. We're not a destination that you just stay in a property.
Of course, yeah.
There's a lot to go out and discover. But one thing that I think our Indian guest needs to know, we have accommodations in Seychelles for practically any budget. If you like the 5-star accommodation, you can find it. But if you'd like a homegrown, small, self-catering, a small guest house, where you want a much more closer to Seychelles, intimate kind of experience, that also is very much possible, and within good budget as well.
So in 2025 alone, there has been an increase in about 80% of Indian tourists, and we still have 2 months of the holiday season left to go. So with that, we'll conclude this interview. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us and taking out time for us on DD India. Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
This was Ms. Sharon Francis, who told us how food, travel and culture can play such an instrumental role in bringing nations together, especially India and Seychelles, which have a relationship that has lasted for centuries. With camera person Saurabh Shukla reporting from Seychelles, this is Jayanti Jha for DD India.
Much to explore in Seychelles. Moving on, Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel administered oath of office in secrecy to 2 newly appointed ministers of Sheetal Niwas today. Dr. Sudha Gautam took oath as Minister of Health and Population, while Bablu Gupta was sworn in as the Minister of Youth and Sports. The ceremony was attended by top dignitaries, including Vice President Ram Sahai Prasad Yadav, Prime Minister Sushila Karki, Chief Justice Prakash Mohan Singh Raut, and other senior officials. With the induction, Prime Minister Karki's cabinet now has 10 members. Over 15,000 leaders, policymakers and innovators from more than 600 cities worldwide gathered at Expo City, Dubai for the 2025 Asia-Pacific Cities Summit and Mayors Forum. The 3-day event, themed Collaborate, Inspire, Transform, aims to strengthen global city partnerships and promote innovation in sustainable urban development. UAE Minister of State for International Cooperation, Rima Al Hashmi, inaugurated the summit, calling cities living systems that learn and inspire. Brisbane Lord Mayor Adrian Schreiner urged greater unity among cities to tackle climate, digital and infrastructure challenges.
Dubai has always believed in the power of collaboration, and Expo City was conceived as both a tribute to that belief and a catalyst for cooperation on a global scale. This summit reflects that same conviction. It brings together those who understand that cities are not only places where people live, but living systems that learn, adapt, and inspire.
Chief Election Commissioner of India, Ganesh Kumar, briefed press on Special Intensive Revision (SIR) on Monday. He highlighted the success of Phase 1 of SIR in the state of Bihar, announcing the commencement of the second phase, the enumeration process for which will begin on the 4th of November.
प्रिंटिंग और ट्रेनिंग का कार्य कल से शुरू होगा और 3 नवंबर तक चलेगा। हाउस टू हाउस इन्यूमरेशन 4 नवंबर से 4 दिसंबर तक। पब्लिकेशन ऑफ ड्राफ्ट इलेक्टोरल रोल्स 9 दिसंबर 2025। क्लेम्स एंड ऑब्जेक्शंस का पीरियड 9 दिसंबर 2025 से लेकर 8 जनवरी 2026। जिन लोगों को नोटिस जाएंगे उनकी हियरिंग और वेरिफिकेशन का समय 9 दिसंबर से 31 जनवरी तक होगा और फाइनल इलेक्टोरल रोल्स 7 फरवरी 2026 को प्रकाशित किए जाएंगे।
Indian states of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha are bracing for cyclone Montha landfall on Tuesday, with severe cyclonic storm Montha closing in on the Andhra Pradesh coast near Kakinada. The state government has placed its administration on maximum alert. The cyclone is expected to make landfall with 90 to 110 kilometers per hour winds, heavy to extremely heavy rains across multiple districts. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu reviewed the developing situation from the Real-Time Governance Centre at the Secretariat on Monday. He also spoke with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who assured full support from the Union government. President Draupadi Murmu participated in Chhath Puja celebrations at the President's estate, where devotees offered aragya to the setting sun. The President prayed for well-being and prosperity of fellow citizens. Chhath festivities are being celebrated in northern India. In those visuals, President Draupadi Murmu participating in Chhath celebrations. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan this QR code on your screens and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.